Hey gang, Zippo. We're going to start this one off. I've had a lot of questions over the years about how many times I've replaced my barrel due to it rusting out. And the answer to that is 0 times. It's actually pretty easy. How to keep these from rusting out. Line them with fire brick. I've got it lined up higher in the front where most of the heat is, or where most of the flame is and the coals, and then all the way down to the back of the barrel and one row up so that it'll encapsulate the fire. How I kept these base bricks steady was there's another brick running lengthways, other bricks running lengthways to the back to support these fire bricks going back. And these are the heavy fire bricks, not the real lightweight ones. And then all the way at the very back, which you can't see, there's another brick that's all doing the same thing, just keeping the fire where it should be. This does a couple things. That the bricks soak up the heat, so you get a real nice good hot fire, and it saves your barrel. This barrel's gonna last another 20 years just because I invested, I don't know, about, at the time, about 40 bucks in some fire brick. I started off with just this bottom barrel, and then I picked up on clearance. This was an old style that was being sold by Rural King. They went to a new style. So I picked this adapter kit up to add the second barrel. Plus, I think it was 10 bucks for the barrel. I think I paid $25 for the kit. All the kit comes with is 2 brackets that allows you to put a barrel on top of a barrel, and then the 2 couplers in the back, and then you just put a small piece of flue pipe between the 2, and that's it. Of course, whoops, look at me, or look at what I'm doing. And then of course it comes with that bracket as well, and you can put this anywhere on the barrel that you want to. If you wanted to put it more towards the front so that the air has a good U-shaped pull, you can. This just happened to be where I had it before in this barrel. No, I didn't. I had it back there. I don't know why I put it there, but I did. That's where I put it. That's where it's staying. And it comes with an interior piece that comes up and clamps up onto it. The Magic Heat exchanger, heat reclaimer, was sent to me by a very good friend of mine, Heliarch, out in Pennsylvania. Brother, that thing is just, it is magic. Absolutely saves my hide. Saves me on kerosene too. But that's how I do it. I mean, that's how you can keep your, you can see here where I've run the brick up along the sides a bit more. But that's a way to keep your barrel stove from rusting out. And it provides awesome insulation there. So I have a trash bag that's roughly a foot away from the barrel stove. It's not showing any signs of the heat getting to it. It's because these brick help insulate that. Anything below, it's insulated. With this thing going full bore, I can touch the bottom of this and it's room temperature. But anyway, what we're going to get into today is we're going to really quickly just go over the bore. We're going to inspect the bore with a bore gauge. That's pretty much all this particular video is going to be on. Then I've got to get this engine moved so I can get another project or another job in here. But yeah, it was pointed out that you could also tell that this engine was running hot just by the absence of rust all the way up to here, where this is running so hot that actually just caused the rust to just flake off of the thing. And that was a very good point that I missed. I didn't see that. And you can also see the difference in the coloring here as opposed to here. It really baked this area. So when I pull the exhaust valve out, we're going to check the exhaust valve guide. We're going to check both guides, but we're going to pay particular attention to the exhaust valve guide and the exhaust valve itself to make sure that they're within spec. I've got the spec sheet, so no worries there. Our bore is 3.5 inches, so I'm going to set up my bore gauge to accommodate a 3.5 inch bore so that we can take a gander at whether we are elliptical or oversized, because I have a go no go parameter on the guide to tell me if I need to bore it, or if the bore is fine and all I need to do is hone it and deglaze it and get a standard piston and throw it back in there. So, but we won't go that route until we're sure that that we've not just totally destroyed the valve train. You know, looking at the intake valve, after scraping it off, I mean, it's like shiny new. It looks great. The exhaust valve, it got really hot. It may have gotten hot enough that it's got a real severe cup in the seating area, and so I will have to take it over to the Van Dorn valve resurfacer and see if I can clean that up without it doing too much, without the valve getting too low in the cylinder, because you want, after you get them lapped in, you want the wear mark. Let me grab see if I've got one sitting up here. I should have. You get a better visual than me just talking about it. Yeah, there's a valve right there. Okay. Now, when you look at the valve, you see that shiny part? How that shiny part is more towards the bottom, where we have a little bit of a lip at the top. That's actually good. I mean, I can tell just by looking at it and the way that the light is reflecting off of it that it's cupped, but this valve would clean up just fine. And where you want the valve to seat, against the valve seat, is right in the middle between the top edge and bottom edge of that angle surface. But we can see right here, see how shiny that is right there, and how shiny that is right there. That valve is most likely out of spec, because it's got, I mean, it's got a noticeable ridge here and a noticeable ridge there. But I digress. Let's get back to what we were doing. We've got the bore gauge sitting right here. I'll get it set up, and we'll set the camera up, and we will take a look and see exactly what our bore measurement is, and if we can live with what it is, or if we have to punch it out. So hang on for that. Okay, now we are back on the Kohler. This is the 12 horse that has the burnt cylinder. Now, my neighbor Dave has a 12 horse Kohler head gasket. He's running after that right now. And we're going to check compression with a new head gasket on it. I'm going to quickly deck the head and see if the head is burnt out or not. But essentially what I want to do is see, the whole story has changed, okay? I'll get into that here in just a second. But we can see right here, this is where we had our blowout, obviously. That's where the head gasket burnt through. And here's our burned out head gasket. Okay, obviously way blown out. So those of you who have either rebuilt engines in a machine shop yourself, or know of a machine shop where you have taken your engines, you guys know it costs a bit. It costs a bit to have one of these engines rebuilt. So what I'm going to do in the meantime, while we're waiting on Dave, is we are going to get the bore gauge out and take a look at whether or not the bore of the engine is egg-shaped or not. Let's do this real quick, see if it shows up on camera before we do though. The original hash marks, yeah, you can see them. The original hash marks are all over that cylinder, all the way around. All the way around. And that slight scoring that you see right there, you absolutely cannot feel that whatsoever. So, okay, now the story. Dave and I both were under the impression that his buddy Dave, too many Daves, my neighbor's Dave, that he wanted it so that he would have a backup for his Cub Cadet. That's not the case at all. Not the case at all. He wants it rebuilt so that he can just sell it. Well, for what it would cost to go through this entire engine, and for me to go through each and every single solitary spec on this engine with go no goes, all the measuring, all the time I would have in it, the potential for machining, the potential for valve guide replacement, the resurfacing of the valves, resurfacing of the valve seats, adjusting the length of the valves, crank journal, whether it's in spec or not. There's a lot that goes on in this tiny little one-cylinder package, and it would not be cost effective for him to rebuild this engine and then just turn around and sell it. So we're going to throw a head gasket on him. We're going to do a compression test as soon as the head gasket gets here. But in the meantime, I thought I would go ahead and show you guys a couple different ways that you can measure your bore. One is not as accurate as the other, but it will get you by in a pinch. And if you happen to already have these tools handy, and even if not, you can pick up cheap sets of both in order to get a ballpark. So, and those two things are a micrometer. This is a Mitutoyo. It's on the higher end of the spectrum as far as cost goes, and telescoping hole gauges. So that's what we're going to use to start with, is this telescoping hole gauge and the calipers. And these calipers do measure, let me get it, yeah, they do measure to thousandths of an inch. So, and all you do, quite simply, they telescope, you pinch them and they spring back out, set it down in at an angle, move it down, wiggle her around a little bit so that you're sure that everything is seated, and then you just twist the top. And by twisting the top, you effectively lock these spring-loaded guys in place. Then you can take your calipers and open them up. This particular engine is 3.375 inch bore. Okay, so we'll get this to where it's over by a little bit. We'll set that in there. I'm sorry, yeah, I went way over. Huh. Yeah, 3.375 is what we're looking for. And we'll slowly bring it down till we just barely touch. Alright, can you guys see that? 3.370. Let's see what our reject is as far as bore size goes. We'll come down here. Cylinder bore from a 12 horsepower is right there. You have 3.3755 max, 3.3745 minimum. Well, it falls within that, right smack dab in the middle. So we're good using this method. There's another method that you can use. and that is with an actual bore gauge. And bore gauges are just what they sound like. It's a gauge, and you get a series of different anvils. This is the measuring side. This is the side that you would adjust, and it comes with various length pins and washers and everything you need to get close to your base measurement. And you can either use the vernier calipers, or you can use micrometers to get yourself in the ballpark. And then all you're really looking for, since we know that our bore is essentially in spec, now we're going to look for egg-shaped. So we're going to take a number of different readings. We're going to come in, and I've already zeroed this out. So we're going to come in, I'm going to pan up a little bit, but I'm just going to move this back and forth, back to myself, and back and forth, back and forth. And let me move this marker to 0 so it's a little easier for you guys to see. Okay, right here I've got 0 marked right here with the tab. All right, let's go back in. Like I say, I already zeroed this out. So you want to come in, move back and forth, and find your high spot, the highest spot it'll go, and I've got that set at the 0. So that's my base point. I'm starting at that position. Then I'm just going to turn it a little bit, come back down, and I'm going to measure it again and look again and see where I fall. And again, I'm falling right on my zeroed out mark. And then again, we'll come back in, we'll do it again. And you want to do this a minimum of 3 times to get a base measurement and see where you're at. And I know it's off kilter for you guys to see it, but this bore is perfectly cylindrical and it's within specifications, so it does not need bored. It doesn't. It needs a new piston, and it may need the valves done. But what we're going to do, since this engine's just going to go up for sale, and it'll be full disclosure to whoever buys it, they will know that the engine was checked and what needs done, that it will need a new piston. The amount of the piston that has worn away, the piston didn't actually get to the point of breaking. And we did a measurement around there with feeler gauges a little bit ago, you guys may remember. The amount that the piston has been eaten away right here is enough to reject that piston. Obviously, the piston's gone. A new piston rings properly gapped, and this engine may run for another 1,000, 2,000 hours if it's taken care of. So the next thing we have to check is if that head is level or not. So I'm going to get out my little piece of leveling material, and we'll see if we can't shove a feeler gauge up underneath it, right around where that burn mark is on that head. So let me get that. Hang on. Okay, Dave does not have a head gasket for it, so I'll get online and order one, get one in here. We're going to try to decide whether the owner of the engine wants to rebuild, or if he wants to just get it running. If he just wants to get it running, is that piston opportune to use to run it? No, not really, because it's missing, probably 20-25 thousandths of the top edge of the piston. And I can only imagine that the land is also out of spec, but if the engine will run with that piston, he's just going to sell the engine and let the owner know that it does need a piston. Because we saw hash marks are still in it, measured out fine, the whole 9. I was going through the gauges here, so we are looking at a 12 horse. Let me find the, oh, it's right there. Okay, that's good enough. The bore diameter maximum wear limit before you would go to bore it over would be, I don't know if you guys can read that, it's 3.378. Well, we were at 3.370. So we are in real good shape as far as that goes. Yeah. No. What were we at? You know what? I don't remember. But our bore's good. Our bore's good. And the next thing we want to know is a go, no go on the cylinder head. And right here on this line we have cylinder head. We'll come over to the, it's the same all the way across. It's 0.003 of an inch flatness is what's allowed. So we're going to pull out a 3/1000 gauge. I have the 5/1000 out right now. Let's get the 3/1000 out here. 1, 2, 2, 5, 3. There's our 3 right there. Not much to it, is there? It's pretty thin. Get that one pulled up and out. And we're going to just hold gentle tension on the head in the center and see if this will slide under it. Full disclosure, not real granite, but it's a flat surface. It'll give us a ballpark. So where our burnout was right here. So let's check and see where we're at. We'll start over here. No go, no go. It went right past it. Gotta get to where the gasket's at. Well, it's going through here. It's going through right here. It's a weird place for it to go through. We'll keep going. And we're going through on the opposite side of where the head gasket was blown, right there. From here to here. Well, it's hard to get it in there, but right there. We're going through down here. And we're still going through. My guess is that I just don't have it clean enough, because I still have some remnants of gasket here and there, but I will take this and go over it with some emery paper on this stone, and I'll check it again before the engine goes back together. But it doesn't look like this one's going to get rebuilt, unfortunately for you guys, but kind of fortunately for me. Yeah, I'd like to have the money for it, but by the same token, I've got a lot of other work that I've got to get done around here. So for now, we're going to button this up till I get the new head gasket in. Then we'll revisit this Kohler one more time with the new head gasket on and the head torque down, and we will see what kind of compression numbers we get with a good head gasket, because obviously that head gasket that was on there was just completely stripped through that one spot over here, completely stripped through. So that's it. It's going to round it out for Kohler Part 2, and a little bit of double barrel wood stove stuff at the beginning. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate y'all more than you know. This is your friendly neighborhood Zippo. I promise you guys I will be on the next one. If you like this video and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to give it 2 thumbs down. I'm perfectly fine with that. We'll see you guys on the next one. Later. I'm out of here.